Hello to all of our viewers. This is Marcus Knecht, former professional baseball player. He got drafted by the Milwaukee Brewers and the Toronto Blue Jays, and played many seasons in the Toronto Blue Jays farm system. So, thank you for being here, Marcus.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's awesome. So, you got to play for. You played in the Blue Jays farm system, right? You played in their
Cor-
farm system. Yeah.
Correct.
So, what does it mean to you as a Canadian to get to play for a Canadian franchise?
Well, as a baseball player, you really don't care too much about who takes you. You just want to get taken, and you want to continue your career and be the best. So, but for me, it was very special. I had a lot of attention, and I had a lot of articles written about me, and it made me feel good. It made me feel like I had all the work that I've done meant something. And but after the draft day happens, you go right back to work. Now you gotta create your own reality. After you gotta create your own performance. So at the end of the day, I'd be happy with any team, and I just love playing the game.
Cool. Um, and then you got drafted by the Brewers in 2008, but decided not to sign with the Brewers. What made you decide not to sign and stay in college for a few more years?
Yeah, good question. I well, I didn't feel ready, really. I felt like school was more exciting for me. You hear about when you start your professional career, baseball becomes a job, and it becomes more work. And I wasn't ready for the work. I was ready to keep playing and go to school and being a kid. So, but when I went to school, I actually learned a lot, and I learned how to do the work on my own. I learned how to do my cage work on my own, and find friends that loved also doing the work. So for me, it was the best way. It was the best possible way. Now these days, I'd tell somebody the opposite. I'd tell somebody to go if they get a chance to go. I'd tell them to go play pro, because there's not that many draft. There's not as much. There's only 20 rounds in the draft these days, and when I play, there's 40. So there's not as many chances, not as many spots. So everybody's different. Everybody has their own gut instinct, and I tell them to follow their gut. But now I tell them go for it.
And then, did you have any friends who also got drafted? Like any friends that you had in college, or any teammates that also got drafted to the MLB and played for MLB or MILB teams?
Mm. Yeah, so I went to Oklahoma State, and that was a big school. That's a big time school where a lot of players get drafted out of. And so the year I went there, I think we had 7 or 8 guys get drafted, and only two of them made it to the major leagues, and one of them I believe is still playing. His name's Tyler Lyons. He's a left-handed pitcher. He played with the St. Louis Cardinals for a long time. I think he had some starts and mostly in relief. I'm not sure if he's playing to this day. And and then I changed schools, and I went to a very small school the next year, called Connor State, and we had 4 players get drafted before their schooling was done, and one ended up making it to the major leagues last year, I believe. His name is Dustin
Oh,
Knight. Yeah, he's a pitcher. I believe he made it up to the major leagues with I think it's the Rays. I think he was with the Rays just for a little bit, and I think he's in AAA right now. But he was a pitcher, and he had a nasty curveball, and he threw hard, and he had the mind, he had the tenacity to keep going with it. And yeah, congratulations to him. So a couple guys, yeah, 2 or 3 guys I know made it to the major leagues.
cool. So we interviewed Rob a few weeks ago, and
Yeah.
he was talking about the amount of grit it takes to get to the minor leagues and to the major leagues, and that you have to embrace that. And do you have any? He said that in the context of us asking if he had any advice for younger baseball players aspiring to play in the MLB or play professionally. What is some of your advice to some younger players
Mm,
who aspire to be professional baseball players.
yeah, that's a good question. It's funny, like, so when you play, you've been playing baseball since you were, say, for me, it was I started swinging a bat when I was 2, just for fun, right? So I got drafted when I was 18 the first time, and then 19 the second time. So that's between my first swing and the time I got drafted, there was 17 years and probably 13 years of like organized baseball. And none of that really seemed like work. It's funny because it's so fun. So like you get so much better at baseball without you even knowing it. And you think you have a lot of work to do, but at the same time, a lot of the work that you've done, most of the work you've done has already been done, and you just don't know it because you've been having so much fun while doing it. So, like I said a couple minutes ago, when you hear people say, "Oh, once you start playing pro, it becomes more of a job and not as much fun." But you see in the major leagues, when Vladdy hits the home run, 450-foot dead center home run, he's dancing around the bases. And then
Yeah,
he goes, touches home plate, he daps his buddies, he gives a chest bump to Justin Turner, and he has a dance with everybody in the dugout. So you can't say that's not fun.
yeah.
So so for me, I'd say there's a separation between like having fun and working. And baseball, when you're actually playing the game, is meant to be, and you play your best when you're having fun. So my advice is to be remember when you were 6 years old or 8 years old or now, and remember how fun that was, and see if you can match that fun with how you're playing now, and to continue having fun, because that is the performance driver. That's what drives success, and that's the measuring stick to see whether you're in a good place.
And then you've played on the Canadian team before and represented Canada multiple times in international events. What was it like to win gold in the 2011 Pan Am Games for Canada in baseball?
Yeah, that gold medal, it's heavy. I'll tell you, like it looks beautiful still. And gold, the thing about gold is it never tarnishes, so it's always going to look good, and it's always going to be heavy, and it's always going to be something that I look upon with pride. And it's a different thing. It's a different feeling putting on a Canadian uniform and also facing up against the big boys like Team USA, and we faced Cuba, and we faced, it's really much a different feel playing against countries and seeing
Yeah.
how these countries play, like playing against Chinese Taipei, which are a very good team. I don't think I ever played against Japan, but you really get to see the different ways baseball gets played. And that's one of the things I love about baseball, is that based on the country, they play the game different. And you get to learn how other people play the game. But winning is something that you'll always, winning a championship, especially a gold medal with your own country, is always going to be one of the best things of my career.
And who are some of your teammates on that team, and who did you play against on guys like Team USA and Team Cuba and the Dominican and stuff like that?
Hmm. Who can I remember? Well, who did I play with? Okay, I played with who would you know? There's a guy named Jamie Romack who hit. He's a coach now for the older. Coaches out in London, and he hit a lot of home runs. And after winning the gold in 2011, I believe he went to Japan or Korea. He went to Korea and played up until a couple of years ago, and he hit a lot of home runs in Korea. And he was famous in Korea for hitting home runs. There's a guy named uh, who else? Well, the coach was a guy named Ernie Witt for Team Canada.
Oh yeah,
And
I've heard of yeah.
Ernie Witt he's a legendary Canadian coach and former major league player. He was an absolute, it really is an honor being coached by him and all the people that he's coached.
Hmm.
that was the Pan Am Games. We won the Pan Am Game gold medal. So there was no at the time no major leaguer were allowed to play in the tournament. It was only guys who were not signed to a major league contract. So I'm not sure you would know. And to be put on the spot, I couldn't put. If I think of another name, I'll mention it.
Okay. And then transitioning to the Blue Jays in 2024, obviously, you watched the opening day yesterday because you talked about Vladdy's 450-foot dead center home run.
Oh yeah.
Um, but what are when you look at the Blue Jays this year, obviously they have a lot of strengths and a lot of weaknesses. What do you think are some of their areas of strength? And then also, what do you think are some areas that they can improve on at the trade deadline or internally?
Hmm. Well, I didn't watch much of the spring training, and I only know based on who they've picked up. I really like Dalton Varsho. I like his ability to hit for power and also drop bunts down with speed. To me, he seems like the perfect pickup. Last year, he didn't pan out like everyone thought, but to me, he come playoff time, he'd be a valuable asset to do sneaky damage. And then there's Vladdy, who looks like he's in shape, like looking really good, and his he might have changed a lot in his swing, but he's it still looks the same, and it looks powerful. There's George Springer, he's the classic leadoff guy. He's totally changed the game when it comes to being a leadoff hitter. Now everybody tries to match George Springer and set up a leadoff guy that hits home runs. Um, then I'd say I don't know too much about their pitching. I hope Barrios does really well this year. I, I faced uh, I faced Barrios multiple times, and he's a nasty pitcher. Four pitches. Any major league pitcher with four solid pitches has a chance to do if they can throw strikes with all the four pitches, they have a chance to be, top five Cy Young guy. So I think he has a potential to really have a great year every year. I think that, and I've always thought Blue Jays are always my number one team. They always will be, and so I just really hope they make the playoffs and just continue to play to their potential. They have a lot of potential.
Do you think Justin Turner is being misused in the cleanup spot, or do you think that's the right spot in the lineup for him?
Ooh, yeah, I forgot to mention Justin Turner. I really like Justin Turner. I've always liked him. I think he's a huge pickup just for the morale and the culture of the team. I think he's just coming from a winning team who's been to the playoffs from the Dodgers. You know, I haven't watched him much to see, but I think right-handed hitters typically tend to have great success at the Rogers Center, like Batista and Edwin, and so I think he's got a swing that has lift that can create lift, and I think if he gets as long as he squares up the baseball, if he can square up the baseball consistently, he has a chance to hit 30 plus home runs and drive in 100 RBIs. So I think it's worth giving him a good long shot there. He might not end up there, but I think, and plus just to show that the team is invested in him and into his confidence. It would help his confidence too, being in the cleanup spot. So I think it's a good move, but we'll see what happens.
Okay, and then what's it like to be fighting for a spot in spring training? Like a lot of Blue Jays or Blue Jays prospects might have felt this past year.
What's it like?
Yeah, because
It's
it's
very
basically a tryout, right?
definitely, yeah. Well, there's a lot of guys that have contracts and they've already been guaranteed spots, but there's always a few spots up for grabs, and there's always players that are fighting to show their best. And if you're able to show your best while under the eyes of everybody, then that's a sign that you deserve to be there. Some players, not every player likes it when all the eyes are on them, and the spotlight
Yeah.
can be very bright sometimes, and it gets even brighter when you get to the stadium. literally all the lights are so bright. So it's very competitive and it depends on who you are. It could make you really nervous and make you play worse, or it could help you focus and play better. So only the player knows that. Yeah, but it is very competitive. It takes a lot of focus and it takes a lot of zoning out distractions, and it really puts your focus in baseball playing this to the test every day. And it doesn't end, it's every day.
And then looking at the Joey Votto deal, obviously it's a pretty fairly recent deal. Do you think it's
Yeah.
really going to impact the team, or is it just mainly there's a story, like a cool story for the season?
Well, I think it's there for a cool story. I think it's there out of respect for Joey. He's shown that he has so many years of success that I believe that he deserves to be there. But then again, in the Major League Baseball space, if you don't perform every day, then nobody cares about what you did a couple years ago, you know.
Yeah,
So if he's good enough, I think he's starting in AAA, correct?
yeah, I think so. It's a minor league deal he signed, so
It's a minor league deal. So, I mean, it doesn't matter how many good at bats he's had in the past, he's still signed a minor league deal. And I think he's happy with it. He's a really easygoing guy and he's really happy to be there. And I think he's gonna give it his all, definitely. So I wish the best for him. I really like him. I always have.
and then what are your expectations for the Blue Jays this season? Like in general, like record wise, and for maybe like a guy like Vladdy as well.
Mm. Well, there I've never thought it was fair. Like maybe most Blue Jays fans that they're in the AL East, it's like, well, now even the bad teams that used to be bad are now even better than the good teams. Every team is good. So again, they have a great core, and it's always gonna come down to pitching. If you're gonna win, if you're gonna make the playoffs and make it far in the playoffs, it really does always come down to pitching. So if they can pick up a big arm and some relief guys that maybe throw gas,
Yeah.
um, then I have high expectations. Hitting wise, especially I think with Turner and Varsho, if they turn it up, and if Springer, and what about Bo?
Well, yeah. So for me, at least, when I look at Bichette, I like he's been very consistent, especially the past 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Um, so I think you almost know what you're getting from Bo. I don't want to jinx anything, but I think you know what you're getting from Bo. With Vladdy and Springer, it's a bit less predictable, at least with Springer's age and Vladdy's roller coaster of a few seasons. So
Yeah, I know. That's the thing, eh? Consistency. It's a long game. It's a long season, and it's easy to say, "Oh, yeah, it's still early," but you want to see these guys able to bring the heat every game. But their core is just so they're young, but they're getting older now, and I really think they want to do something. And they got some older guys and guys who are hungry as well. Like I think Turner still wants to win something, and yeah, I got high hopes. I got high hopes. I really hope they. I just really want to see the individuals perform as well, and I want to see what kind of fun they can have at the Rogers Center.
yeah, and then you're saying that like they're young, but they're getting a bit older. Like Bo and Vladdy, which a lot of people say is the core, their contracts end at the end of next year. And everybody says that it's a 2 year window because of that. Do you see it? Like, what do you think their window is? Do you think it is 2 years? Do you think it's 1 year because they might trade them after this year? Or what do you think the Blue Jays window is?
Well, I think at this point, baseball's changed in the last couple of years, where I believe it's every year. It's only a 1 year window every single year. Like you can only really focus on this year, and even long-term contracts. I believe they don't mean as much for a winning culture as you think they do. Like I think everybody's selling out to win this year, and I think that the Jays are in the same boat. So I think they're going to reevaluate next year at this time next year, and so it's really hard to tell. But I know, like I think Mark Shapiro is really more focused on this year more than any year, and he's not too focused on a long term on what's going to happen down the line. He wants to put the most focus in on this year and then move forward from there. So hopefully everybody's on the same page with that.
Okay, and then the Blue Jays, they've made some coaching changes in the offseason. As a former player, how much of a difference do coaching changes really make? Do they make a big difference, or are they just something for the press to amplify?
Mm. Well, can you clarify what coaching changes that they made
So
for me?
they one of their old hitting like strategists or something, they
Yeah.
sent him down to AAA and brought up a AAA hitting coach who who they're saying is meant to like if any of their prospects come up, they're used to that coach and stuff. And he's transformed a lot of good hitters down in AAA. And then they brought in a guy named DeMarlo Hale from the Guardians, I think. It's like an
Mm.
associate manager, which is a fancy term for bench coach. I'm pretty
Uh,
sure. So yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure how much like it does mean a lot having a good coach. It really does set the mood. If they're committed to culture and having a winning culture, it could really mean a big difference. I think the Blue Jays, when it comes to a hitting coach, these major leaguers, they know exactly what they're doing every day. So they already have what they want to work on. And I think to have somebody that is willing to work on whatever they want to work on is is important and maybe not get in the way with anything new, really. So, but if the manager sets up a culture and brings aboard people that have a similar winning culture, that everyday focus and keeps things light, but also is hard on the guys and keeps them focused on doing good things, then that's all they can really do. At the end of the day, the players win the game. The players are the ones that have to be kept happy, and we want to keep the blame off of the players and keep their distractions to a minimum. So different coaching changes might be a way to put the distractions on the coaches and off the players and keep the pressure down and make sure that everybody, all the fans are on the side of the players. I think that's important.
And then last question. I'm not sure where my friends are, but last question. What makes this Blue Jays year unique compared to past years?
What makes it unique? Hmm. Well, again, I really like I really like Justin Turner in a Blue Jays uniform. I I'm not sure how Varsho is done in the spring training, but typically spring training doesn't mean too much in terms of results. But I really want to see him flourish. I really think he's a 300 hitter, and if he can put that together, if all the pieces are together, man, they're top from top to bottom. They're a talent. So again, it's just going to come down to pitching, and you know, yeah, I think they have a strong chance of being really good. What do you think?
Sorry, I was muted there for a second. Me personally, I think that Varsho, at least in spring training, he's shown what he can do because we saw a year last year, which I'm not sure that was all he could do. I think he has more potential. It might just be the first year bugs and then for the rest of the guys, we'll just see where the year takes us, I guess. Because I'm not really sure what's going to happen, and that's the beauty of baseball. So,
Exactly, my friend.
all
That
right,
is.
Thank you for doing this, Marcus. Much appreciated.